I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Welcome to the Monday, March 20th meeting. Supervisor Doles is absent this evening. We have two public hearings on slate for tonight, 6:45 p.m. We were supposed to start 556 Lakes Road, and 7:15 p.m. we were supposed to begin the Lands of Lever. Both were continuations. I'll turn it over to our attorney to explain the reasoning behind the adjournments.
Thank you, Acting Supervisor. With respect to the 6:45 p.m. public hearing on 556 Lakes Road, if you recall, this had been adjourned to allow the engineer for the homeowner to submit a report as to the stability of the home. That report was submitted and forwarded to the building inspector, and he found it to be satisfactory. However, the report did indicate that the interior of the home, due to the extreme storage within the home, was not, that he believed that it should not be inhabited due to the conditions inside the home. So the agreement with the attorney was that we would continue this because he's not meeting with his client until Friday, but we want to have a condition that the home is not occupied again until that condition is addressed inside the home. And he couldn't agree to that until he speaks to his client. So I did tell him, as long as she's not coming back before April 3rd, which he said she would not be, we would continue the public hearing to April 3rd, and in the meantime, he can speak to his client and advise if she'll agree to take some steps to address the inside of the home. And I made Mr. Maldonado aware of that as well. So we would continue to April 3rd. I don't know if we have a time from the clerk to set that for. No, it's a continuation, so that's why I wrote down the date. So, you want to do 7:15?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing till Monday, April 3rd at 7:15 p.m.
Second it. Any other discussion? Call the question? Aye. Aye.
All right, thank you, Acting Supervisor. With respect to the 7:15 continuation of the public hearing on the Lands of Leva, it is now after that time. I had received an email from Mr. Krogan, who is the attorney for the applicant on this, and according to him, the individual he's dealing with doesn't have the records that we had asked to be submitted because his parents are in Florida, and they need some time to compile the records, so he's requesting a continuation. I did ask how much time, and I haven't received a response, so I would recommend we continue this public hearing till April 3rd. I would make it also at 7:15. I don't believe we need to set separate times, so we'll just put them both down at 7:15 p.m.
Motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing for Lands of Leva at 7:15 on Monday, April 3rd at 7:15 as well.
Same time?
7:15, yeah.
Okay. I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved.
All right, now, I believe as you're aware, Mr. Donnelly is here and was going to go into executive session with the board, and we have 15 minutes anyway before the regular meeting is supposed to start. So if the board wishes, we can enter into executive session to discuss litigation with Mr. Donnelly.
Excuse me, Mr. Attorney, would that be attorney-client?
I'm sorry?
I'm just wondering, would that actually be attorney-client, or would that be executive session? I'm just, to be precise, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be either or. I mean, we call it attorney-client. We're not, this is technically the public hearing, which is
Okay.
being continued. So for this point, I would deem it attorney-client because it's to give advice on pending litigation, to give legal advice.
That's what I was wondering, okay.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn for attorney-client.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved.
Second.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. Counsel, I'm assuming we're making motion to adjourn the public hearings, or we did that already? I'm sorry.
We did that
We
already.
did that already.
Yeah, I think you're just looking to open the regular town board meeting at this
Okay,
point.
so we need a motion to close the public hearing session.
I'll make that motion.
We've continued both of them, so you can, I think at this point, just move to open your regular town board meeting. And you've already covered the pledge prior to the public hearing.
Okay. So Rick, you want to change that to opening the town board meeting?
I'll change that to open the town meeting at this point.
Second.
Second, call the question?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so moved. Go on to the pledge. Approval for minutes for February 27, 2017.
Okay, Mary Ellen has not been able to send it, the internet's not cooperating with her.
Okay. All right, so we'll hold that off. Schedule is there for upcoming meeting dates. Our next town board general meeting is April 3rd. Planning board is the 4th. ZBA is the 25th. Ethics board is, actually, I believe, tomorrow night. And I'm sorry, ethics board is Wednesday. And the ZBA is the 28th of March. Okay. Monroe, on-force update. Update on the money-saving project. This was not a presentation by me, so I would assume that we will table this. Although they, on-force did say in a letter that they anticipate substantial completion by August to September. That's basically it. Okay, Monroe ambulance. They were here.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, hey guys, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. I have a question just
You
pertaining,
want to ask them to come
yeah,
up?
if one of you just want to come up? How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. If you just want to state your names for the record.
Nancy Piper, President.
Alan Glass, treasurer.
Okay, thank you for coming. We're trying to complete the 2017 contract. I know previously we were discussing the information that we wanted from, I guess, years prior, 15 and 16 and maybe even 14, because we went to a budget session. I wasn't at that particular budget meeting, but we don't have any idea with respect to certain numbers that exist, fees and whatnot. And from what I remember correctly, and council, just correct me if I'm wrong here, you gave permission to provide us with those numbers, whether they're your audit or whatever you have from previous years. We have yet to receive anything. What I'm asking is, when can we get those numbers?
Please tell me exactly what you want, because you're saying years like 14. How far do you want to go back?
I would love to just go back to 14, 15, and 16.
Okay, so you want 3 years
Yep,
of financial statements
yes,
from our certified accountant.
that's fine.
That will work for you?
That works for us.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, that's, honestly, it's the first I've heard of an exact as to what it is that you're looking for. So now that we know what it is that you want, it's easy to comply with. Is
Okay.
there anything else that you're looking for? Because this is dragging on way too long. So if there's something else that you want,
I know that
please let us
council
know
probably
what it
has.
is.
Yeah, we've communicated and haven't heard back from your council on our position with respect to the fees, and he had sent us initially his position on behalf of the ambulance corps. We responded to that, disagreeing with his version of the law, and we hadn't received a response since that. So that issue of the fees and the collection and who's accountable for that money is still an issue that hasn't been resolved, but that's not something, we need, it's not a document, that's just a legal issue that's out there.
When I was in contact with our legal representation today, he gave the opposite response, that he is not able to get a hold of you. We've been billed for time where he has attempted to get a hold of you and you're not responding to him.
Well, I don't know when he did that, but I'd
So
be glad.
and I'm not trying to fight with you, I'm just saying, we don't know what it is that's holding us up. So if it's numbers from back to 2014,
Well, that's,
That
okay, to be
gives
clear,
us-
that's just part of the analysis. The numbers, in other words, the town should have that information and should have the financials. So that's something the town board needs to see because it may be relevant to what goes into the 2017 agreement. The issue with the fees, again, I'm glad to share the correspondence we sent. There hasn't been a response. I'm not sure how he tried to contact me. I was out last week, but I have no messages from him. And the last thing we sent was quite a while ago that said, we've received what you presented, here's our response on behalf of the town, and nothing has come in since then to counter that.
would you contact him tomorrow?
I'd be
And
glad to.
That'd be
I have no
great,
problem
because
contacting.
we do want to get this resolved.
Well, listen, we want to resolve, I would love it resolved by the end of the month, April 3rd meeting at the latest. And council, were you supposed to draft some language pertaining to the contract moving forward?
Well, there was an issue that Mr. Martin had raised, and we had requested him to sort of give us the summary of what he wanted changed in the language. That was the 2016 agreement, which we were trying to finalize for signature, so everybody would have it. That contract doesn't have any issues with the fees and all that, because the language that we put in there was to recognize that this issue is out there and we'll address it for the 2017 contract. But I think Mr. Martin was concerned with had to do with the language as far as
Yeah, there was
the
just
payments.
one inconsistency that said that a lump sum was given to the ambulance corps and that. And then it's interesting because that's in point 2, and then you get down to point 6, and it says everything will be done on vouchers. So the contract doesn't really state the way things have operated for the last 8 years that the treasurer's been in charge with the corps. So we receive vouchers and the town pays based on those vouchers of line items that are in the budget that are approved by the town board. So there was just like, if you were gonna clean up 16, whether that's important to do anymore or not, that's just like one little line that's in there that's incorrect, that's all.
Yeah, and I'd asked at the time, I just want you to send me an
Yeah, I know.
email in your own
I kinda
words
thought- yeah.
as to what it should be, and
Okay.
I will fix it, but I don't wanna guess at what you're saying and then have to redo it again, so that's why I asked.
That was a misunderstanding on my part. I thought that you and I were gonna talk about it. You just really want me to write it out and say.
Well, if it's simple, like you said, you can just give me your own words, what it should say, I'll take care of the legal side of it.
Cool, okay.
Thank you.
I'll do that tomorrow.
Thank you.
I think that, Tony said it, but I would like to get the 2017 done because we're already 3 months in.
Thank you.
And if you have what I consider to be issues, with the attorney or through Peter, and I just think we should settle, maybe if we have a long-standing issue we want to settle or change, I think we should change it for 2018 ahead of time. But the 2017, the old, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't personally think that it's broke. So I think we should just, move ahead as quickly as possible and sign this contract. And then if there is something in budget time, when the ambulance comes up next time with the budget, then we can maybe hash out for 2018 and do it in November, you know what I mean? And then that would be done ahead of time instead of being delayed so much. But that's just the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, but we said that we were gonna do that in December and January, it was never done, so there's no need to delay it another year.
And acting supervisor, if I may,
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, so.
for the benefit of the ambulance corps members, in speaking to their attorney, my last email to Mr. Fitzgerald was February 6th of 2017. There's been no response by email since that time.
So you'll contact him?
I will reach out to him, but I don't like, him saying that he's been trying to contact me when the last thing he got was an email from me February 6th, and there's been nothing since.
Okay, Okay.
Listen, we all love the ambulance corps, and we know what a great job you do, and we're not worried about, you know, misappropriation, that's what it's not about. Excuse me. And, listen, we're just trying to comply with what the New York State Controller's, guidelines are to towns and how they enter into contracts, that's all.
Yeah, and we did discuss that, it's strictly that our view is the Comptroller's Office of New York State says this town board is responsible for the fees that are collected. Your attorney has disagreed, but that's really the issue. It's not about, you know, worrying about the money, it's really a matter of the town legally has the obligation to have oversight over that, and they don't. And so that's the legal issue that's sort of in the midst, but it has nothing to do with questioning where the money's going or anything of that nature.
But what kind of oversight are we looking to have here? I mean, we already have a financial department that just recently got enough members to actually run properly. So I don't know why we want to do oversight on something that's working when we have enough on our hands as a town overseeing what we do otherwise.
Well, it's not that we're looking to add oversight that you're not obligated to do. Well, it'd be the same as if you suddenly said, we're not gonna be worried about the highway department or its budget, we don't need to look at it anymore. In other words, it's an obligation that you have, according to the controller, you're responsible for that money. So to not have any oversight is to just abdicate your responsibility.
Good.
So it's not that you're questioning it, it's just that the controller's position is it's your legal obligation to know how much in fees is collected, and right now you don't know.
Could that be something that is rectified as simply as having monthly reports?
It may be, and that oversight I'm talking about doesn't necessarily mean you physically collect the money. The ambulance corps can still collect it, you get a report, and you know what's coming in, and then whatever you decide after that is up to you as a town.
The financial implication for the town to get involved with medical billing would be incredible.
And there's no intent to do that, and that's not what's required.
That's my fear.
Yeah, and that's not what's being proposed.
I believe we had one discussion with the Corps when they actually suggested they'd be very willing to submit monthly reports on the billing.
Would that suffice?
Sounds like an idea.
That's up to you. If you want you to have right now you don't know, but once you have the information, you can do whatever you want in the agreement. That's why we want to get it to write the 2017 agreement and deal with that issue. So if the controller comes in here, they don't say to you, you're not accounting for these monies at all and they're town property. That's the legal issue. The controller says that money is town property.
So could it be that we sit down with the Corps and have them develop like a draft of what a report could be that they'll give to the town boards and then you guys could review it and find out if that would satisfy the legal requirements that you
Yeah,
say?
would that be, right now you have nothing, so we're asking for something, so you have something to start
So
with.
we could try for that. I think that would be pretty easy to have put together. I've discussed with the treasurer about it before. And as I said, I think that the Corps even had agreed a couple meetings back that they'd certainly be willing to do that. That's not, there's nothing to stop that from happening. So why isn't maybe the goal that we have that draft report to you guys before there's the next town board meeting, so you have a chance to review it?
I think that sounds interesting.
My question is, do we have to go back to 2014 though?
Well, those are
No,
financial statements.
Those are just financial statements.
Okay.
And the financial statement, I believe the contract says the financial statements are available if all the town has to do is ask. So
the town
now you
asked.
have formally asked, and that's been taken care of.
Yeah, as far as the reporting, I think we get the reports and then we can work out the language as far as the 2017 agreement and what you want or what you'll see and you receive your report, and maybe that's all that needs to be done.
I'll make a suggestion if the board agrees. Why don't we have our comptroller talk to their treasurer and over the next couple of days before the next meeting, write up something that Peter and Alan would both think would suffice for what the comptroller would be asking for, submit it to the board and the attorney, and then we'll know by the next meeting, maybe that would suffice.
And Jerry, the way the Corps works, I believe it would be that from the Corps, it has to go through their e-board for approval, so.
Okay, but this
It
would be a draft.
It would, a draft, but
A draft.
it would need to be tied through with them that the e-board is comfortable with what is.
Well, they can ask the board as
Okay,
soon as possible. Is that sound okay?
I'm fine
This
with it
board
as,
and-
as treasurer.
Treasurer,
I know I can work with Mr. Martin, it's not a problem.
what do you guys think?
All right, that's
Fine with me.
Fine with me.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thanks.
I'm gonna skip over resolution to pay the bills till later in the meeting. Departmental monthly reports have been submitted and read. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, does anyone here have an email from Highway, Mr. Sherney?
I have an email which I will read. He asked me
Yes.
to read it tonight.
Yeah.
It says, this is concerning the storm this past week. Men from the highway department should be commended. At one point, it snowed 4 inches an hour. Crews were in at 2 a.m. and for the most part, in their truck from that time on, would come back, fuel up, grab a bite of coffee, and head back out in 10 feet of visibility. We did have some breakdowns that made things difficult, and some roads did not get pushed back as far as we like. Trucks without wing plows cannot push back as far as wing trucks. And yes, we did get mailboxes, the plows did not hit them, usually it's just snow, and a heavy snow it was, that knocks them over. Highway will fix mailboxes as a courtesy, not a requirement. Mailboxes are in the right of way of the town. If there are any issues, please call 782-8583, and John Sherney will get back to you. Thank you very much. Respectfully submitted, John Sherney. So, with respect to the storm, that's essentially a report from our highway super. On to old,
Folks, please, quiet down in the back, please, in front.
on to old business. Councilman McGinn, do you want to handle that item?
Okay. All right, originally we had the public hearing to discuss the revised moratorium. It wasn't properly noticed, so we have to set a new date for that. I received an email today also from the planner stating that she is ready to release her consultant's report, which will in effect be our draft comprehensive master plan. So that being said, I think these are two very important issues, and rather than try to put them into the meeting on the 3rd, I'd like to hold a special meeting on Tuesday, the 28th at 7:30 p.m. First, to discuss the revising the moratorium, the restrictions on the moratorium, and then second would be this wouldn't be a public hearing, this would just be a information session with the release of the comprehensive master plan by the planner. I think it would probably be good at this point as well to set some workshop sessions and public hearings going forward so that we can have this documented to show that we are making progress and we are moving along, and there is an intended end date. So obviously we've been under some legal issues. We would like to demonstrate that this is coming to a close, that we intend on bringing this to closure within the next few months. And so my first motion would be to schedule a public hearing for Tuesday the 28th at 7 p.m. for the moratorium revision.
Isn't that the ZBA meeting? Isn't that the ZBA meeting?
Second.
It's two separate issues. We can have it without,
Without ZBA members?
so, excuse me, no calling out from the audience, please?
What are you doing?
Yeah, Phil, stay, please. All right, gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
I'd rather do it
The only problem is, Jerry, is I know Wednesday you're not available.
No, let me say, I prefer, and I know we have to do business as a board, not just one person. But I always like because of Monday nights and budget meetings Mondays and Thursdays, I always at least put all my Monday nights away for work, and I tell work that I can't work Mondays. So I always prefer off night Mondays, at least to do some of this stuff, and that way even the public who come on meetings on Mondays might be more convenient for them on Monday night.
Yeah, I prefer the Monday also, but
Yeah.
the problem is, I'm not sure if we're gonna have the required time to do that.
I'll ask the attorney, what's your thoughts?
Well, the clerk would have to check to see if the notice can get in the paper in sufficient time for Monday, but if it can't, then you're not gonna have a meeting to fix that, you know? So right now, I mean, Tuesday's a safe date. You, I suppose, could set the public hearing, if you wanted to use Monday, subject to the required notice, and if it cannot be published, you know, put the alternate date. Because one way or the other, the notice is gonna get published and people will know when it's going to be scheduled. But, our only concern is that you have it in the paper in sufficient time.
Would April 3rd be good, the Monday meeting?
No, I wanna do it as soon as possible.
No,
I'll go further,
I'll go with the, we'll do the 27th,
Okay.
March 27th,
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
Okay.
And with the fallback date being the 28th, and then we'll just have to work something out with the ZBA where they have their meeting.
Well,
We'll figure that out.
what about if we set it for 6:30?
Well, we have the master plan release after that, that's what I'm saying, so, yeah. So, all right, so I'll make my motion for the 27th with a fallback date of the 28th.
I'll second that. Discussion?
I don't think, see, if you're worried about the time frame with 1 week or another, April 3rd, you don't want to do it because, why? Because it's not enough time to do it?
Well, because, first of all, it's gonna be two time-consuming issues that I think trying to rush that or put it into a hearing with, trying to put those two issues into a regular town board meeting would be ridiculous, I mean, honestly. And to try to do that, you know, this is an important issue. We just spoke with our attorney back there regarding
I
the,
don't,
the importance of showing progress and that we're moving forward, and the importance that we place on doing this. So I really, really think, otherwise I wouldn't be making the resolution. It'd be easier just to do it when we do the town board meeting. But it's something that needs to be done and move forward to show that it is separate and distinct, and to give it the time necessary. to go
so this
forward.
would be, that night would be just for the moratorium possible revisions, public hearing?
For that, and it would also be for the release of the master plan. Because one would be a public hearing, I'll make a separate motion on the CPU after that.
Well, we don't know for sure if the master plan is gonna be released, but I haven't seen a release of it yet.
Put it on, you wanna put it on the calendar?
I just stated that the planner sent me an email, I'll forward it to you. I don't have it. She says it's gonna be ready.
For when?
So I'll forward, she said she'd like to release it the week of the 27th. So,
But that doesn't give the public that much time to look at it.
it's not the public hearing, it's two
Oh.
separate issues. It's a release to the board to describe
Oh, okay.
what is in the contents of it. After that, there's gonna be workshop sessions and then at least a couple of public hearings to accept, it's all explained in the email. She
Okay.
sent it to me right before the meeting.
You could forward it, and I'll look at it, but the reason I don't find, and this is only because I do want to be part of it, so obviously I want to be part of it, and I appreciate the Monday effort, but my thing is, the fallback date could just as easily be April 10th then, because here's why. We originally set a moratorium for 3 months. I was told it was gonna be 3 months, then it was 6 months, then it was 9 months, now it's a year. And you're telling me that the difference between a week or two is gonna show good faith? When originally we set the moratorium for 3 months and now it's
I
gonna be a
think,
year?
I think if you have.
I'm just saying,
I'm just saying, if you have the planner saying that I'm ready to release it.
no, I'm not talking about the
it's only
planner
a
thing,
couple
I'm
weeks.
talking about the public hearing for the changing of the moratorium, I'm not talking about the planner thing. I understand what you're saying with the planner thing, I get that. You know, that's not a public hearing. But I'm saying, as far as the moratorium changes, we have a moratorium that's lasted 4 times as long as originally planned. So for it to go another week or two, in order for the whole board to be here, I think that would make sense.
All right,
No,
your opinion's been heard. Anything else, Mr.
No,
Cole?
I know it's better.
As soon as possible.
Okay, I'd like to call the question.
So the 27th and the 28th is a fallback, is that sufficient?
I'm good with that.
I would say the 27th, subject to the public hearing notice, and if it can't be published for the 27th, then the 28th would be the date.
Okay.
Okay. Call the question?
Aye.
Okay, secondly, I'd like to, for the same date, for the 27th, for 7:30, I'd like to schedule a workshop session for the release of the master plan with the planner to present to the town board. Not a public hearing, just a presentation. At that, we will, set dates for workshops and public hearings that are associated with it. So, 27th at 7:30 for the release of the master plan by the planner.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
That I have no problem with, because it's not a public hearing.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. Let's go into new business. First item on the agenda is approved supervisor to sign agreement for Ferd Cliff Technologies. Anybody have any comments on that? My only comment is, why is this not going out to bid?
I'll make a motion to approve the supervisor's sign Sterling Post closure monitoring 2017, just for some consecutive for discussion.
I'll second it for discussion. So
Peter?
why is
Peter?
it out to bid?
Well, you were talking about first.
With the Sterling Post closure, they always do our closure,
No, we're on,
post closure.
No.
You guys are on first clip.
We're on
Oh, I'm sorry,
First Cliff.
I'm sorry, technology. All right, same thing. Peter with the first cliff, are you involved
Are
with
you
that?
making a motion to,
No, I just wanted to, I made a motion second so we could discuss it.
so you're making a motion for Ferd Cliff?
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll second that one for discussion.
just for discussion.
Okay.
Peter, anything with First Cliff Technologies?
No, if you want to go out for bid, you're certainly free to do that. I think when you want to put that together, the language that you're going to have to put out there needs to be pretty specific as to what it is that they supply. You need to understand that that firm is integral with every system that we have. For accounting, for the building department, for the town clerk, the assessor's department.
There's no other firms out there that could handle this?
Well, the guy that calls you up on the 800 number soliciting IT services is not a person, in my opinion, that's going to be prepared to go out and
That's not what I asked. I
to
asked
that
if-
level.
That's not what I asked. I asked if, are you saying there's no other firm out there that could handle something like this?
In the past, when we've looked for that, the answer is no, there hasn't been. In the past. So you want to put it all together, write it up? That's up to the town board.
I mean, what's the total contract from last year, Peter?
They get $2,800 a quarter. That's the contract. And this is the rest of what they supply. It's either services that are covered through the contract, and the contract gives us a reduced rate when they do things. They do a lot of work remotely, and that comes at a different rate. And then whatever they do has been approved by or requested by a department head or myself.
Can you bring up what their total,
I don't have my computer running tonight.
okay. All right, I mean, I guess we can, table that. I mean, without any numbers, other than 2,800 a quarter.
That's the contract that you're asking to sign.
Yeah, but the contract contains all the other fees associated with it.
Yeah, the labor rates per hour, on-site and remote work, and then 95 per hour outside of normal business hours, which I think is a pretty good rate for outside business hours, only $10 more an hour. You wanna hold off on it?
Well, we.
We got till May first. before it runs out.
Yeah, it's a May.
May
If,
first.
I mean, you're not required when you guys are, I know speaking in general, you're not required to go out to bid because it doesn't reach the monetary thresholds under your
Right.
town procurement policy. You're supposed to obtain written quotes, assuming even the $11,000 or so dollars a year on the quarterly payments, it would fall under one of the written quote requirements that's in your town policy. And arguably, I don't know if you're considering this a professional service, that wouldn't be subject to necessarily be the low bidder, but rather the one that you feel is competent to handle the work.
The most responsible.
But even so, you would still, get the written proposals and review them, and you could select if it is a professional service, which we weren't asked to review this, but if it's a professional service, then you could go with the person you think is best, as long as you can justify paying the price that you're paying.
So now this would be then an RFP?
No.
Well,
You can issue, I mean, you're not
professional-
required to issue a formal RFP. Your town policy can just be solicitation. For example, you could reach out to, two local companies that do this type of work, or, semi-local, and ask for proposals for the work that you're getting in this contract.
Okay. What do you guys wanna do?
Well, I recall, we had put this out to bid once before. We only had like 2 other local companies, vendors that came forward, and they would not provide. The problem is that we have a historical, we've been doing business with them for some time, and they put in all of our mainframes, so it wouldn't hurt to have a second look at the contract. That's fine, but
That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying, I think they do a very admirable job.
they do a very good job, you know.
So we wanna put it out to, 3 different vendors or something, including them?
Well, we would have to talk to the vendors anyway. It wouldn't just be, because they got the lower price. I would want to know,
Oh, of course, we'd have to get the parameters here, the service they give us and all that.
because they always give us service, and we've always called them out, and they've always been there
They
for
always
us,
come in,
even in
yeah.
emergency, so.
Yeah. So what do you wanna do?
The one time we had the system crash, they were there.
Yeah,
that's right.
And they've worked there for weeks, so.
We've
not,
had some more of that.
Yeah, so they've been very good to us. But if the board members wish to have a look-see at other companies, that's fine. But
Okay.
we've been working with them for some time.
All right,
I
so
first
what
got
was
on
the
board, we
process?
did
We
that,
just
so,
want
yeah,
to,
whatever you wanna do.
do you want Peter just put out a request for,
I think that
Along these
maybe,
conditions, right?
maybe what you want to start with is a little more documentation for the board so that you understand exactly what it is this firm supplies, what they do, what all of their responsibilities are. Because you haven't been intimately involved with that, and it might be, I think it would be insightful to see exactly what it is that they're doing for that money that's spent. And you'd also want to see what we've spent in the past and what we've spent year to date, and get that as well, so that you can make a little bit better and, a little more informed decision-making about what direction you want to go.
Okay, so Peter, can you contact them and get, and also on your end, give us, like last year's cost totals and year-to-date now? And then get maybe a little more detailed than these 2 pages, although they do give a good overview here, maybe a little more detail, Peter, so the board can look at it?
Sure, we can do that.
All right, thank you.
And we have to get this done
It says here May 1st,
May
right?
1st, so we've got a month maybe
Yeah.
to work on this. But I'll call Fred and we'll see what we can get started with.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
so what, do you need a motion to table at that point? or-
I'll withdraw my motion.
No, just table it.
It's just table till next month.
All right.
Okay, B, approve supervisor to sign Sterling Post closure monitoring for 2017.
I'll make a motion that we approve the supervisor to sign Sterling Post closure monitoring for 2017.
Second for discussion. discussion?
No, discuss. Go ahead, discuss away.
You understand the background?
Yeah.
Give them a little taste, Peter, so that
No.
the board.
You know,
When I read through it, I know what it's about. Just,
Right,
just-
and we, the
Really
town,
just for some
right,
historical,
the town has a consent order with the DEC
right.
for the closure of the landfill, and this firm's been with us for that from the beginning. The liability that you're looking at is potentially forever, because the DEC has been not kindly granting closures to these consent orders that involve capped landfills. We've done very well. There have been no negative results that have come out of it in the years that Sterling's been doing the monitoring. And we monitor also an off-site well of a resident that's located adjacent to the landfill, to the closed landfill. So,
They also did the engineering study for Forest Solar?
they did do that, not
I mean,
as
for
a
the
town,
town.
not as a town expense, they did that.
Right, they did
on
it,
Forest.
yeah, on Forest paid.
Paid them to do that. Again, you know, you've got a firm that completely understands all of the parameters of that place, and that's really important. And it's especially important here for us because when we closed the landfill, some of the material that we used was not soil, but it was wood that had been, you know, mulch, wood that was ground up and used as the fill. All this was approved by the DEC.
Right.
But it was, at the time that we did it, we were one of the few landfills out there that was following that process. And so, you know, it's, in that regard, that our place is a little bit special compared to some others.
Okay. Call the question?
Aye.
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 All right, so moved. Next item up is Board of Assessment Review to appoint Alex Servato as Secretary for Grievance Day on 5/23 from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm sorry, my mistake. Request for lighting on a road. This is off of Scunnamunk, I believe. Letter states, we the residents of town of Monroe would greatly appreciate it if you could do your utmost to see to that road lights should be installed on Bakertown Road at the area mentioned in the enclosed letter and map. We would really benefit from these lights as walking in the evening when darkness envelopes the whole roadway area is unsafe, especially on Saturday and Jewish holidays when driving is prohibited. Thank you most kindly in advance, yours truly. And there's a list of 7 people that live in the area that signed it.
There's also another letter.
Yeah, there's another letter.
Yeah, that was from like 15, I think, right? There's one from 16 to
There's one from
15.
16, and then there's one from, there's 2 from 16.
Did the town ever look to form a lighting
Well, we
district
can
over
find
there?
a lighting district, that's all. We have
We have a lighting district.
in that area?
It involves, our lighting district involves generally the unincorporated town. We don't have lights, we don't have special small lighting districts, we have the town lighting district.
Which needs to be evaluated anyway, because there's, like you go out Lakes Road, there's a lot of light bulbs that are out. We're still paying for that, even though they're out.
And there's lights on the
Yes.
non-town roads.
Yeah, and there's one in Warwick that we're paying for too.
Dutch Hollow Road,
That's correct.
so we need,
Well, I will tell you that I was what?
well, I was just gonna say, I mean, we get contacts from firms that do that kind of inventory. And they get a percentage of the savings that they generate.
Well,
Peter and I had talked about that recently.
You know, and Jim Rogers has volunteered to actually to help work with us.
I believe he started that, did he?
And Jim came in at the beginning of the year. And we need to get some updated maps, and ONR doesn't give out maps anymore. They said it's because it's a security risk. But there is a way to get into a portal so that we can have an inventory of what we do have for our street lighting. It's gonna take somebody to take it over as a project to do that.
Well, I spoke at the Association of Towns with a firm that was presenting with all the vendors set up. I guess you have, what Rick, you say, 100 or more vendors, state groups, the Attorney General's office. They all have booths around the one section, the main floor. And I talked to a gentleman, and I've been in contact with him by phone a few times, and he sent me one email, which I will get to the board. I know we were doing some other things, where he wants to make a proposal to the town, and of course, we get other proposals, but he showed interest to our town when I was talking with him, and he followed up with me, which was good, and I was happy to then follow up with him about putting in modern lighting, saving on both money, preventing maintenance, and also being more green. And you know, he's got some ideas. Because the new laws were passed, and I'm gonna try and get this right from what he verbally told me, last fall, that now companies are getting involved throughout the state, and towns now upstate further from us have actually worked with this company, and I have contacts on them too, I'll give to the board. And they're putting in lighting, they're also can add poles if you need, like we have this issue here with this neighborhood asking for stuff. They can make that part of their proposal where they add a few lights. I did mention to him also that, in my opinion, from driving over on Larkin Drive, and I've got complaints from citizens that it's kind of made like a racetrack, and it's very dark over there, especially on the cloud cover, so we're asking if the town would be interested in possibly doing something with lighting. So I said I would bring it up to the board. And this all came together at the Association of Towns, so I would like to pursue that and then give all the information to the board. And maybe it's something that he guaranteed the town would save money. And it would actually be maintenance savings as well as kilowatt per hour, you know, generate the same lighting with less kilowatts per hour. And also be more green because now you're requiring less energy for your lighting. So it seems like he was saying to me, and of course that's his business, but it seems like a win-win kind of a thing. So I will follow up with that as
Right,
I
I
go
mean,
along.
is that something that they wanna put an RFP out for, or you wanna?
We could also do that.
Yeah.
Well, it can just be right now an inquiry. But while we're on this subject,
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
while we're on this subject of lights, I would also like the town board to consider a resolution if possible, and how we're gonna craft this about light pollution. Now, it might not sound like a big deal to everyone out there, but light pollution is something that goes on in this country and pretty much unchecked. When you look out towards Target, it looks, and towards Woodbury Common, it looks like the sun is coming up, but it's really all of the lights from the parking lots. And it does have an effect on the quality of life. It drowns out all the starlight, it just drowns out just the whole evening. So I would like us, while we're talking about this new lighting situation and how we're gonna go about it, I would also like us to start thinking about light pollution and how we can curb that, and maybe just start maybe a small grassroots movement with our citizenry as well as with the town. I would also like to put out there that any suggestions from people out in the town who would have information on this or could help out on this, I would welcome any input from our citizenry.
So you want to take up, Rick,
I guess I stepped into that one, I guess so.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So I would.
Jimmy, you wanna take up Jimmy Rogers?
Yeah, take up Jim Rogers, but I also want the board to start thinking about light pollution and what we can pass as far as a resolution, and welcome ideas from the public as well.
I'd like to see how other municipalities handle that, that'd be good.
Would you like to see if some of these folks that have been calling in over the years, one I remember that called fairly recently is, I believe, Troy and Banks. I don't know if they were at the association. Maybe they'd be willing to come in and make a presentation before.
Yeah, bring them in, come on.
Yeah, I already have the one guy who I'm dealing with, and more the merrier. He knows that it's a competitive marketplace. But he did, he's pitching his company, of course. But he also said that they know that we'd have to get different bids, depending on the size of the project would come down to an actual bidding thing, or
Right.
whatever legally we have to do, we'd entertain.
Yeah, but if we can get a company to come down, a few companies to come
Yeah.
down and make a presentation,
He said he was willing to do that. He's out of, right below Albany.
and then we can have Mr. Rogers also look into the lights, in the different roads. And then what I would like to do is have a special, maybe on a weekend, call together interested parties from the public to have a meeting on light pollution and what we can do in the town.
The other interesting part about this particular request is it's in 164.
Yeah, I was gonna point that out.
All right.
And
Yeah, but even that being said, looking at it from a town-wide perspective, like you're saying, Jerry, and having someone come in and do an assessment, part of that assessment being, what's that light pollution gonna do to, quality of life and everything else.
But also,
Regardless
he
of whether
said-
that's in 164 or not, it'd be good to have that come in, someone come in and give us a.
And our town is big enough, he said, to justify his company coming down, presenting, giving bids, and getting involved, because we're big enough of a demand of light that he'd be happy to do it. I'll call him up, I'll call you guys up.
And any lights that get added in are lights that are paid for by the town. So, appropriate to the comment, to the observation of the 164.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. Next item. Board of Assessment review to appoint Alex Travato as secretary for grievance day on 5/23/17 from 4 to 8 p.m. at a rate of $100.
Make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it. We did last week.
Discussion?
Is that just for the one day?
Yes.
Grievance day.
All right,
Call the question?
Aye.
all right.
Aye. Okay, so moved. Next item is a request for a solar project. Discussion. No, because they asked for agenda time, so. Okay. Is Klaus here?
Yes, he is.
Yes, you want to come up? Yep.
Before I begin, I want everybody to be aware we're talking about a contract that is 20 years, and to cancel it, it's millions of dollars. I'll begin. Allow me to preface my remarks by saying that the concept of a solar farm to save money for the town's power costs has merit, if it's done professionally and with transparency. As a reminder, this contract was signed by Supervisor Holly Doles back in May of 2015 with his chosen vendor, On4 Solar, almost 2 years ago. Holly Doles did not submit this request agreement with other vendors on a request for proposal, as he was able to bypass this function, according to a New York State General Municipal Law, to his advantage, but not to the community's advantage. He is supposed to serve. Based on a letter dated March 15th, On4 Solar anticipates starting construction sometime May, June, or July. It is a strange coincidence that I made my agenda request March 8th, and On4 sent a response to Harley a week later. This agreement is another result of the Harley Dole's school of mismanagement and deceit at the taxpayers' expense. Some past ventures are the movie theater purchase, the foul boathouse, the private security force, lease purchase of a new town hall.
Klaus,
The list goes on. I'm done.
I mean to interrupt.
Yeah,
Let's
okay.
stay on point here.
Yes, sir. Harley Doles, you and the town controller have no clue as to what the results this agreement will bring. The reason is, as always, you did not perform due diligence that would serve the taxpayers. And for example, you did not obtain general understanding of the project. You did not perform past, present, and projected financial analysis of the town's projected power cost savings and what these findings were based on. What are the expected formal administrative controls, monitoring and reporting to the board and the taxpayer? What are the staffing requirements that would be needed to perform reviews, payments, and allocation of expenses and savings? Is there a tax abatement involved in this project? Is a need for a maintenance contract, an annual maintenance contract, and what does it cost? Needless to say, I could go on, but the most important question, you double parked your broom, sweetheart.
Oh, honey.
All right, folks, come on, please, come on.
Please, come on.
Have some fun on it, Klaus.
Stop, enough.
Needless to say, I could go on, but the most important question, which I know Holly Doles and the town controller are not able to answer, is what is the actual dollars and cents the taxpayer will benefit each month after all expenditures? I know this contract is signed, but I think it should be really reviewed, considering the vendor has not done a physical construction project. Mr. Colon, I like your idea about the lights. Good show. Thank you.
Anybody got any questions?
Questions to him, to Klaus? He brought the fact that we should, Klaus wants the town board to review the contract. I'll get another, I don't know where I put my old copy of it, but I'll get another copy from the town clerk tomorrow, or from Christine, and I'll go through it and I'll try and answer Klaus at the next meeting.
Klaus, will you, before we sign this, ONSAR came in and did a few presentations. Were you present at those? Okay, I just want to make sure that you were.
Yes, I was.
I could say one thing, as Tony mentioned earlier tonight, On4 put in something in the agenda package tonight about getting O&R clearance. I was also involved with On4 when they got the permission and permits from the county to do the road cut and the improvement of roads going into the landfill, which they'll pay for. They'll do it at the end of the project, once all the trucking and construction is done. I was also there, and I met On4 and an engineer, an independent engineer who walked the site. I hung out there with him for a while, make sure he could get in and out easily, and he walked the whole site. He said it was in good shape, meaning the landfill closure and the membrane and all that. He did say there was one or two issues he would write up in a report that On4 would be, and the town would be given, and that On4 agreed that if there was a minor repair or two over there, some of the posts that stick up where they measure the emissions, that little rock would have to be put in there, a little repair, which is natural wear. He actually said the landfill was in really good shape for its age, and he was quite pleased, the engineer, with that. So, you know, I've been involved whenever I can be with it, and it seems like it's moving forward. I'm disappointed it's moving forward slowly, slower than I would have liked, but I do feel that at this point now, with the report that Tony read, that was submitted, plus some recent progress with O&R in the county, that it's gonna move ahead at a much better pace now and give savings to the community. Thank you.
Carl, I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. McQuaid, but because it is on a landfill, there was only one other company that has done it before in a landfill, OnStar had, and that was a point of contention when this was chosen, because...
That's not my argument.
Oh, I understand, that's not, for those of you who didn't hear it, that was, Carl said it's not his argument, or that wasn't his point of reference. And I agree with you, that is correct, but I just wanted to bring to light that the fact that it was on a landfill, not everyone that does a solar farm, most of it is usually on just regular ground. So we had to be selective in the vendor that we chose because they have done not only one, but they've done a few of those on landfills. And I believe they have done one down in Rockland County, was it?
They had a field trip with some of the councilmen down to Rockland County.
I did not go to that.
I didn't either.
I
wasn't
know
there.
that was a bone of contention with some of the others.
Yeah, they went down and looked at the other landfill they did and went a review process with the other town. They also, went actually on site and looked at everything, so I wasn't there that day, and neither was Rick, but other council people were there, supervisor was there. So I will also relay Klaus's concerns to Supervisor Doles, and maybe he can answer some of what you asked him. He's not here now at the next meeting, so that would be fair, because if the gentleman isn't here tonight, you raised some questions that are important to you, but I would like to let him, Mr. Doles that is, answer your questions, himself, so I don't want to speak for other individuals. I try to avoid that.
Tonight you approved a vendor to monitor the land, and I understand that that's gonna go on forever.
Sterling, they've been monitoring, they were the official ones that closed it, that's
They've been
why.
approved for a number of years.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but we're still paying for that, not on force. We're paying for that.
That's correct.
We don't have a clue what the figures are,
For,
Which figures?
what we're gonna make.
We,
How much is
There's a
on force gonna collect? How much is O&R gonna get? How much is the town gonna
there's a
get?
schedule that outlines all of that.
I'm sorry?
There was a schedule in the contract that outlined what the guaranteed amount was going to be that the town would pay per kilowatt hour for supply, but the escalation would be per year for 20 years, which is considered to be the lifetime of a project. So that's out there. I don't have it
even
in
know what
front
the
of me.
grid is,
What grid?
that they're gonna cover.
Sure.
They're not doing all of
It's for
Monroe.
the power that's generated from this solar farm is for the town-owned buildings. All right, because the way it works right now, New York State, in this part of the state, doesn't allow you to go out and set up a solar farm and sell a lot of power back to anybody, or, whatever the company is, the utility that has it at that time. So you can't do that. And the other thing New York State doesn't do, you mentioned any kind of tax rebates or whatever. Well, municipalities aren't allowed to collect those.
Okay. I
So
thought
if
that,
there was, from your house, if you did it on your own and put up solar on your roof, you can get a federal rebate and you can get a state rebate. Or if you have one of the companies that are out there that put it up there that no charge to you or whatever the agreement is they make, they get the federal money, but then some of them give you a portion or all of the state money. There are a lot of different things at play. so the money side of it gets a little bit complicated, but the municipalities are not entitled to the federal amount. NYSERDA got involved, and they have money that's floating around out there, but again, their money wasn't gonna be available to the municipalities.
So based on the schedule, we could say we're gonna collect 100,000 a month?
What we're gonna do is we're going to reduce our energy cost by approximately 50 to 60%
A percent of what?
Of what
of what it is today. And then we're guaranteed what the rate is gonna be for supply going forward. That, I mean,
They gave you
this
a
is
set
a,
rate for 20 years.
it's a. this
Many
is a-
two
it's a-
unknowns.
What? It's not unknown, it's in the contract.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
The
Clark.
other thing, Klaus, is you gotta realize that when you get these agreements, sometimes with the state and federal governments, if you don't, not that we were in a rush, because we weren't, but if you don't do things, sometimes they change the rules while you're waiting. In the residential market, there's been changes on the rules on selling power back to the grid.
That's right.
People don't realize that originally it was slanted in the utility's favor, as it always is, and I know that from experience, but it was not that bad for the homeowner. Now they've made it more difficult, and in some states, very difficult to make anything on selling back to the grid. In some cases, now they don't allow you to sell back to the grid, because you would be, I guess you'd call it regional, they still have what you call regional monopolies
Yeah,
on the power,
right.
even though they're not a total monopoly like they were years ago before deregulation.
And there are some
But all
places,
different rules.
there's some places, parts of New York State, where parts of the state where you can sell it back to the grid.
Right, there's some you can.
But we're just not in that region.
Right.
We may be able to get OnStar to come back and do another presentation and give us more facts and figures. And I think that
Just,
that would-
and
That's fine.
the reason
Let's,
that this
move
thing.
on.
Time to move on. All right, go ahead, sir.
I understand, are you here for Bald Hill?
I am.
All right, can you just come up so you don't have to wait much longer?
Your name, sir?
George Lithgow, Lithco. To represent the Bald Hill project, which is a residential development.
That's what he
Okay.
The documents you're receiving are the same ones that were emailed, just hard copy. George, that's the resolution.
Okay.
So, Bald Hill is seeking to develop a water supply. In order to do that, it requires the creation of a transportation corporation. We have included that in our study of the proposed development. The step right now that you're being asked to consider is granting your consent to the creation of the transportation corporation so that the application, we can go, so that we can go forward with the application to DEC for a water withdrawal permit. It's required by DEC. It's the only thing this is going to let us do. We will have to go through the DEC process. That involves a public hearing. We'll also have to go through health department process, and then we'll come back to your planning board and go through the planning board process for final approval. So this does nothing but authorize us to go to DEC.
The town has a similar has a water corporation existing also, correct? With Mansion Ridge? Are you familiar with that one?
I assume one was created for that
There was
project.
one, yes.
Typically, they're created to serve a specific project.
Mhm.
That would be the service area.
Right.
We're not looking to negotiate with.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm pointing out to the board that there are
It's a
other
fairly-
transportation corporations like this in the town. And one that I know that comes to mind is the one we have with Mansion Ridge.
Yes, and there's one in Harmony Business Park as well.
Okay. Council, are we expected to vote on this evening?
Well, it's been before the town for a while. There is a resolution before you. That's up to the board. Basically, the town engineer, Mr. Edsel, had reviewed the submissions on Bald Hill, and He did make certain comments concerning, designing the system to eventually have the potential to tie into a town water district. And the resolution does include, that any consent is conditioned upon them addressing the comments of the town engineer in the future, but there is also a stipulation. I mean, if the board wants to go into executive session, I can discuss that with you, but there is a prior court stipulation, essentially, where the town agreed that it would consent to this formation of this water corporation, and that it was a ministerial act, and that the applicant would still have to satisfy any environmental concerns, or as Mr. Lithgow discussed, the DEC, satisfying that there is a water supply. This is not giving them, permission to take water or necessarily do anything with respect to water, but only to form the corporation for that purpose. But if you have questions, Mr. Lithgow's here.
Then we're gonna go into executive session first. I'll make a motion, we go into executive session.
Yeah, attorney-client to this, for legal advice.
Yep.
I'll second it.
Call the question?
Aye. Stand by.
Motion to come out of executive session.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Call the question? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resolution that's been prepared by council regarding this, regarding the formation of a water transportation company, corporation from Bald Hill Estates. The council, both councils have reviewed it and find it to meet all the requirements set forth, and so I'd like to make that motion that we accept this resolution.
You have a second?
I'll second
Any discussion?
it. The engineer approved, the attorney approved.
Yes.
Good to go.
Okay. Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And then we should just do the second resolution authorizing the board members to execute the certificate of consent that's attached. Mr. Joel's not here tonight, so I don't know.
It would be, that's,
I'm sorry?
it would be more.
That's what I'm saying, so we can have the four signed tonight, and, he would be on the consent to formation. All right, so if you want to just make a motion to authorize the present board members to execute the consent to formation of a transportation corporation, I can notarize, tonight if you'd like.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we authorize the present board members to authorize the signing of the consent for the formation of the Bald Hill Estates Water Transportation Corporation. And that's it, right?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Just the,
How many copies do you need?
If you want to sign it, we'll pass it down.
I just need one, one original.
So start with yours, Rich, and just pass it down.
Is it okay if we do that, Brian, or?
We can do two if you want, just.
Yeah, let's do two. Mike, start with yours, we'll pass it
I'd rather
down
have
this way.
one original myself, so I just
Give me yours.
sign any two of them.
Let's start from that one.
Well, you start, Rick will start, and then we'll go this way too.
You had the highway superintendent on here also.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't need it. Just same
I
thing.
saw that, yeah.
Marked absent.
so sign there.
I'll-
That might be a
He's
different
not-
issue.
I'll notarize, so you just sign. That's
He's not on that chart.
I know. Brian,
What's in witness?
I'm sorry.
as far as the one page with the highway superintendent,
Well, he's not present, I mean, if you want, what's that? Okay, so we can just, I'll strike him and the supervisor as not being
Okay.
present, and you guys can just sign your line. You don't need to sign anything other than where your name is.
Oh, right, I got you, that's
the first sheet,
Yeah, where your name is on.
yeah, but there's two places my name is.
Now, one is the notary, so you're just signing your,
What's that?
The regular one.
your signature.
Okay.
You would think.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Copies.
I wait every day.
Did he leave already?
No, he's over there to the right.
Oh,
Wait, wait,
well, wait, just leave.
I'm waiting for a year.
If you want to, well, we got it, let's record it, then there's.
Oh, you know, you stand?
Yeah, exactly, if you want to go ahead.
Okay.
You need me, so.
Next item, authorization for bond council to prepare a bond resolution in the amount of $235,000. Oh, wait 1 second.
All right.
Yeah, well, next we'll do it. For Water District 12, for water mains and pump house control system.
That's money that the town has already put out in that water district. So that amount of money is due to the town from the water district.
All right, hey, Peter, I just want to, I've been working with Wayne Kirkpatrick and Mike Weeks. So Mike has a bond, or grant, bond/grant request out there. And Mike is in the process of presenting a kind of to-do list that needs to be done for that district, which could increase this number. So I
Well-
suggest we wait until we get that,
Okay.
because I know that's 235 that we've spent so far.
I'm putting it out there. to
I know it needs to be
the board
done.
To understand, we should have done this at the end of the year. We have that money that is due to the B fund, and the state comptroller doesn't like to see those things carry over a 12-month period. So we should be taking measures to get it paid off, and we're a little late in doing that. We should have done it earlier
All right,
in
well,
16. But
yeah,
I just wanted the board to be aware that's where it stands. And if the town is going to borrow the money, the approach for doing that is to authorize the bond council to prepare the authorization. Then you have to have a public hearing,
right.
and then it gets voted on, and then we go out and raise the band. That's the process.
Right. I'm just saying that number's probably gonna change once.
Well,
Mike
you can
Weeks comes
always,
back and
you can
says-
always do another,
Right.
and you can always add more at a later date as well.
Closer.
I think he's pretty close to having it done, giving us a preliminary with kind of like a must-do list for over there for 12, since that's kind of like our neediest district.
With this estimated prices.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, for steps of
Yeah.
priority importance, what needs to be done first in that district going down. The grant request through the EFC there is like really a whole,
Another thing.
yeah, it's a whole big thing, and I don't suspect we'll hear anything on that anytime soon. Now, the good news is that if we do get that, it could pay for work that was already done. The only problem with that being, that work that was already done would have to comply with a whole long list of
It
state.
complied with Orange County Orange County Health Department.
Well, it's that, but also a whole list of things that the state mandates regarding contractors and yada, 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 and all this
Yeah,
stuff.
that was all bid out and it was all done.
Right. I'm just saying that that's another
It's another hurdle.
component
It's
to this.
another hurdle.
Yeah, it's another hurdle. So, I will touch base with Mike Weeks, and, I was talking to Wayne the last time he was over, the water was down a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And, they replaced a relay
A
monitor.
relay,
Yeah,
and they lost pressure.
but we have the control panel, was ready to go, we bought that, it was $23,000, something like that.
In order to move forward, you need to decide what to do about the pump house.
Well, that's-
That's the next big nut.
Right, that's what his.
Probably, you're probably looking at another amount that's almost equal to this to finish things up.
I think it's around 140.
You've also
120,
got,
140
you've also got a
something?
little piece of pipe that runs down School Road that should really be installed.
Right.
So, that's kind of, I just want you to understand what.
No, I know, I've
the
been,
district's looking at.
I've been talking with them a lot, and
Good.
and I know that this is our priority, is getting this district squared away.
Okay.
So why don't we hold off on that for maybe, the next meeting or the meeting after, and we'll get that, we'll have a full report from them at that time, then we'll approach it accordingly, all right?
Okay, wrap it all together.
Yeah, we'll wrap it all together and then we can bond out the whole thing
Well,
and.
yeah, you know, we'll still probably do it with bond anticipation notes that run 1 year at a time.
Right.
And until the interest rates change, and then you go to some kind of a longer-term borrowing, which is also more complex to do because it has a lot more requirement to it. It takes a lot longer to get a long-term borrowing set up. It's like a big mortgage. A ban, we do a ban, for, at the initial time, it's about 45 days because you have to have the public hearing. And then the rules of the ban are just cycle through. They require no time at all.
Right. All right, we'll have that squared away in the next couple of weeks.
So then your next water district.
All right. Yeah, that I have no answers.
Next item,
14?
Water District number 14. I guess we have to, we have title to the 2 parcels, which
Yes,
are
we do.
holding up the whole process.
You do have it now.
I know, that's what I said, since we have title to the 2 parcels, which is holding up the application for it, I guess we need approval from the board to apply to the State Controller's Office to form Water District number 14 officially.
I'll make a motion that we take all proper steps to
Ask
apply.
your attorney.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay.
just,
Go ahead, Brian.
has all the previous steps been done with this?
No.
So-
Someone's gonna have to contact the state comptroller's office and get this whole thing renewed, because we tried several years ago.
Were there,
Two
I
or
mean,
3 times, and it fell on deaf ears in all of them.
has there been a filing of maps and public hearing?
You're probably gonna have to go, you may be required to go through all that again. Yes, there was map plan report, there was public hearing. In fact, I think we ended up having 3 public hearings, because the comptroller's office kept telling us, no, you have to do this, no, you have to do that.
Who
So,
handled that? Was that Edsel or?
Langdon, I think that was back, that goes back to Langdon, doesn't it, Jerry?
Yeah.
You mean, so the attorney handled the whole thing?
The attorney, I was sending materials back and forth to Albany, and the attorney was in communication with them.
All right, if the board doesn't object, I might recommend the motion be that our office review what has been done so far, and, you know, then proceed with whatever is necessary. If that means starting over, I don't know that you'll have to, but if the documents and the maps are still accurate, that part, the filing could be considered done. Whether or not you need a public hearing now, you know, maybe all of that was done. If the only thing that was left to be done was the controller's, you know, approval, I would just like to confirm that before we go ahead. Or if you want to make your motion as it was, subject to review by special counsel, we can do that.
I'll make my motion to apply to the State Comptroller's Office of Form Water District 14, subject to approval by special counsel.
I'll second.
This was a thing that, as Peter said, sorry,
Special counsel?
that's what Brian said.
Well, and because it's the firm you're contract with, we use the term special counsel, town attorney. It
Oh, town
all
attorney.
points to us, however you want to
Okay, I thought you said
describe
the
it.
state.
I did say special
Oh.
counsel because we're, you know,
Okay.
usually by contract, we refer to our firm as special
Okay.
counsel.
Okay.
But for the purposes of a motion, it'll be the same person.
Okay, very good. Special counsel or town council.
Okay.
The thing is, as Tony read, we have the titles, 2 parcels, that was a big holdup. There was also a lot of emergency work done there and a lot of repairs and reinstalling of piping that was aged out. We had some members of the community here that live in that district that were here earlier, they had to go. But they were saying that this winter was probably their best winter in a long time, thanks to the work of Jack and his company, and attention that all the board members paid to it. And I just want to say that let's get this thing moving as quick as legally possible and get everyone involved. We have to get involved because it's been a long time coming. And also, I'd like to thank Dan Burke, previous councilman, who did a lot of work with the homeowners over there to try and push this forward. It's as frustrating as it has been. There has been a lot of hours by a lot of the council people here to try and move this forward. So thank you.
Also,
We don't have a second on his motion yet.
I thought that,
No.
Second, well, I'll second it.
Keep discussing.
I also would like to note that Mr. Burke got really involved from the very onset of this and really did a lot of groundwork with the county and the state early on, as I recall. So,
Call the question?
Aye.
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 Okay, so moved. Before continuing, Order Schwartz, did you have?
Yeah.
And I know you had sent an email which didn't get placed on the agenda.
Good evening, Audra Schwartz, Town of Monroe Planning Board Chair. I had asked for the agenda to include an item. I'd like to get a temporary person on board to transcribe minutes for the planning board. That person is Barbara Singer. She's the Harriman Planning Board Secretary. She's agreed to transcribe the minutes for us.
Okay.
So this is really a 1099 contract hire?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is it an hourly rate or?
Let's 22. It's less than what we're paying under the budget.
And it's within your budget, obviously.
What's that?
It's still within your budget?
Sure, of course, yeah.
I thought the rate was 20 an hour currently. I just thought it was 20.
Not by my math, but I
Okay.
can,
Well,
I can look at it, maybe,
Okay. What are the current rates?
well, I took the budgeted salary and I divided.
Okay. I thought it was 20.
But maybe I'm dividing by the wrong number, I don't
I
know.
could be wrong, I'm just asking.
Well, I assume
This
HR can probably
is a
confirm that.
temporary until you find.
Yes, absolutely, yep.
Okay.
The person's also available for the ZBA, but that's, and I've advised, I advised Jonas Hoffman, the chair, weeks ago.
Okay. Council, is this something that she needs our approval on?
I mean, if it's within the budget, technically not. If it's within the planning board's budget,
It is. I assume I can use the secretary line item,
Yes.
why not?
Okay.
Fine.
So I don't need the approval?
No.
We'll use those funds and we'll put it on a line that's a part of.
yeah, statutorily, the planning board
Use the
can,
funds.
pay for a secretary, but it's just subject to whatever money has been allotted by the town for that purpose. So if it's already been assigned, then it wouldn't need further approval.
Just two questions. Add the paper and background check.
I'm sorry?
Just two questions. Add the paper and background check.
Those aren't questions. What are the
Was
questions?
was there an ad in the paper and was there a background check?
Was there an ad in the paper for a temporary? No.
Okay.
There's an ad in the paper for a permanent. And was there a background check? No. Does the town do background checks?
Yes.
Okay, so how do I process that?
Do we do them on contract employees?
And temporary, like part-timers?
Call HR tomorrow just to make sure you cover your bases, that's all.
Okay, yes.
Just cover your bases with that.
Not a word.
Leah. Okay.
She, what
HR.
were her hours? I have trouble
8 to 4.
getting-
8 to 4,
Okay, all right, great.
just so you know.
I would email it to you, so you have it right.
Yes, sure. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, District 7, Board District number 7, purchase a parcel. Parcel number, tax map number 1-1-66 for $3,000 from the Orange County tax sale for drainage district number 7.
Rico Terrace.
I don't know the background on this.
Oh, well,
There's no paperwork,
the-
so.
Is this a water district or a drainage
It's
district?
already a water district, water district number 7.
Yeah, it's paid for, okay.
Water district number 7, the water is purchased from the village of Monroe. When the tax sale documents came out, and there was backup that was given to the agenda package that showed actually the layout of the parcel in the development and where it's situated. And it turns out that that's where the water pit is. So having access to the water pit for the water district seems like it would be a good idea. It's $3,000 and would be paid for by the water district, which has money to make that purchase.
Okay. How much money do they have in that?
They've got 20, 30 grand.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
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 Okay, so moved. Next item is seek authorization for Drainage District 7 to purchase parcels 64-1-35 and 64-1-36 for $3,000 each from Orange County tax sale.
These are the detention ponds for the Hilltop Water District. And somehow, apparently, when the town accepted that district, parcels never got transferred to the town. So they showed up on the tax sale, and the assessor identified them about 2 months ago. When she did that, she did send you all an email with the attachments that showed
I
them.
remember.
So
Whose responsibility was it to transfer it? Was it the developer's responsibility to transfer it to the town?
I'm not certain exactly, our attorney could probably enlighten you on how accepting a drainage district into the town should proceed. But the fact of the matter at this point in time is that these two parcels are up for tax sale. And in my personal opinion, they should be owned by the district.
Council, what's the procedure?
I have no documents in reviewing this that were presented other than the email that's here. So as far as any improvement district, if you're annexing, there's usually a petition, or the town board would do it by resolution, depending on which process you decide under town law. There's either a petition process where a landowner petitions. If you're buying the parcels and obviously own it, then it would be resolution of the town board. But is this being added to it?
No, this was, when the Macon subdivision was done up there on Hilltop, setting up the drainage was part of the terms set by the planning board for the approval of the project. And then, when the project is finished, and that's all covered with a bond, and when the project is finished, you have a process where part of the terms of finishing it out is that the land is conveyed to the water district, or to the town for the water district. And apparently that process never happened.
Did we pull like the final resolution on that to see if it was included in the, you know what I mean? Maybe it was,
Okay,
maybe
but-
the final resolution for the site plan?
I didn't proceed to pull anything for it. The assessor notified us, or notified the board that, and I was copied on it, that these parcels were up for the tax sale. And when I looked at those parcels, I realized that those two pieces are the detention ponds for that drainage district. So the town needs to get them into the ownership of the town.
So basically, Mr. Macon stopped paying taxes on it and said,
Or he never transferred
Right,
it,
never
or.
transferred I'm just trying to think if there's a way that
And
we
we
get
returned
this.
the money.
Even though it's
Going back
back
to Mr.
to
Macon.
Unfortunately, Mr. Macon's total bond money got returned, but at the time, no one knew that these drainage districts had never been conveyed to the town.
I'll make a motion that we allow Drainage District number 7 to purchase parcel 64-1-35 and also 64-1-36 for $3,000 each from Orange County tax sale. Should I put it pending attorney review?
Yeah, I would prefer you did, because I don't know the status of these
Okay.
parcels or the district.
I just, that way you can get done if we can.
Yeah.
Second.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Okay,
Hey, how much is in that drainage district, Peter?
We're gonna probably have to have the drainage district get a little bit of a loan to cover this purchase. And then they'll pay it back and we will, and it goes back on the tax bill. So we'll make the town whole.
okay. Going back to financials, I have two
Kind of,
invoices I pulled, Conica.
okay?
Which is this, which,
That's the big biz hub that's in town hall?
okay, I'm just confused, because I think the address should be corrected on this.
Is it stood up wrong?
Still says 11 Stage Road.
Okay.
On the, it says on the voucher it's fine.
Yeah, no, on the.
On the
their
invoice.
invoice, yeah,
It says
okay.
11 Stage Road.
Yeah, we'll get them to correct that.
All right, and then the only other one I would like to have redone is the Frontier one. It's, total bill, new charges was $1,898.69,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a late fee on here, which I would like deducted of $28.92. Once that's done, I would make a motion to approve the bills.
So you approve them all with the condition that the late fee be removed from
Yes.
Frontier?
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Call the question?
Aye.
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 Now, do you have any transfers or,
No?
no? Okay, I just got a couple questions for you.
Sure.
How close are we to the completion of the GASB fixed asset corrections so that we can complete the audit?
I think we identified that there were 2 trucks that were missing from the, there were 2 trucks that were missing from their corral, from their fixed asset report.
Well, there were 2 trucks that were on it that were missing?
2 trucks that we own that were not included. And I've been working with Bob to try to understand, we wanted to find out also where were the fixed asset tags attached to the vehicles that we have in highway, for the inventory. And he checked out a couple of the trucks that were in the garage that day, last week. He couldn't figure out where they had been sent.
Did we auction?
So, and the things that we auctioned off were this year, so they'll be taken off in 2016 when they do the 2016 report. So
So how close are we to completion of this?
just kept hearing back from the fixed asset group that's been replaced, that's been corrected.
Okay, so you have already contacted them and explained the corrections that need to be done?
Yep, I'll have to find out when we're getting back the report from them.
Okay, when did you contact them?
Last week.
Another question. This is, I think, if my memory serves me correct, it is my 15th time asking for the fund balance report, which we did pass a resolution on, and I still have yet to receive.
Actually, I didn't bring them with me tonight. I didn't get back to town until 5:30. I had them actually ready at the last meeting. I was gonna pass them out. So.
Can you, put them in our mailboxes tomorrow morning?
Sure.
Thank you. And then I had emailed you twice, so I'm just looking for an answer to the questions pertaining to the phone systems over at the courts.
Yep.
I had asked when you had said that the reason the disruption occurred was after the work that the maintenance department did in there. And I guess you had said that there was testing on those cables were being done. I was just wondering when that was initiated.
We said that the work order to do that was put in place almost 3 weeks ago. Getting someone over there, they were supposed to do the testing today when they were there. And for some reason, they had a mix-up on their part, and the guy that showed up to do some other things that were part of work orders hadn't brought Tester with him to do it. So,
And who's they?
Superior Telephone.
Okay.
So, I was out of town over the weekend with a small emergency with our grandkids. So, I did speak with the tech when he was on site today about what needs to be done, but he confided in me that he didn't have the tester with him to do it. I think it's important that those cables get tested, because everything from historical perspective points to the fact that when the phones were initially installed, they were working fine, and that's what the court staff is telling me. And then at some point, they started going down. And we need to find out why. Firthcliffe has been involved in looking at this. We've been involved with Optimum because the phones come in over the Optimum line. They've been involved. And
So when do you think they're gonna be back?
well, I have to hear from tomorrow. One of my calls first thing tomorrow morning is going to be to find out when they're coming back, and I'm going to make sure that I want it to be done like right away.
All right. Can you just let me know through the email or text when they're
Yeah.
coming back?
Once we know that they're coming back, sure.
Okay. All right, that's all I have, thank you. Oh, no, one other question. I know you were waiting on the year end for the reports regarding TMAC.
Right, we're getting real close. I have to close the books by the 31st for the town in Edmonds. So that is, at this point in time, that is my priority, to have that all done, because if we don't close them on the 31st, we can't operate on April 1st.
So we should have it at the next meeting then,
Next meeting being the
April 3rd.
Yeah, by then we should have accurate information.
Okay. All right. Privilege of the.
I got a couple things.
Oh,
Okay, well, everyone gets to add to it. One thing I want to bring up is I was at the T-Mac several times this past week and weekend. First of all, Beauty and the Beast is a big hit. Selling out shows, and sometimes we had it in multiple theaters because there was such a demand from the public that they were selling out shows in advance, which was great to see. Also, the King Kong movie's there, and also Logan, which I'm partial to. I thought it was a great movie. Wolverine, go ahead and go for it. His last run through at that, and he did a great job. But anyway, T-Mac's been very busy lately. Just be careful when you park down there. Make sure you're parking in the right spot. If you do park at meters at the wrong time and don't feed the meter, there could be tickets issued if it's not past the time of parking or on Sunday. So a couple people, I think, did get a ticket because they didn't obey the local parking ordinances. There are other blocks up top of that that you could park in with no meters, so just be aware of meters when you park there. We have no special dispensation to park at the meters without paying, so please be aware of that so you don't get a ticket. And another issue is, that being said, I was hoping to, at the next meeting, maybe start to move forward with the process, because there are time limitations, to ante up and figure out what our deal will be, even though we have a signed buy lease agreement for the town hall. I spoke with the people who own the building. Many months ago, the town board agreed that Tony and I would be, talking to the people about certain issues that came up. I did let the people know there, when I had a meeting with like 3 or 4 of them, that Tony had some issues that he wanted to bring up to them. And I just hope that we can start moving forward to this, because there's time limits if you want to put it on a public referendum, whatever way we purchase the building. But I do feel that now with basically everyone in there but the courts, and the workers all seem really happy with the ability they have to work better and more efficiently in the new space compared to where they were scattered around in very old spaces, and obviously we had health issues in some of the buildings with mold and such. So I just think that the town should move forward with that, because we don't want to lose our opportunity. I was asked by several of the department heads to bring this to the attention of the board tonight. So I think it's something we gotta move forward on, and within 2 weeks, I think we could hopefully iron out any little issues we have and maybe move forward. We do have a signed lease buy agreement that I think is good for the town and would move us forward without having to buy property and build a whole new building. That's my thing. I think I'm not gonna spring on everyone tonight, but in the next 2 weeks, let's all get into a thinking cap mode. And if anyone needs to meet with the current owners, they're more than willing to meet and talk with them, the issues we have to decide on. They wanna know what's gonna happen too. Thank you.
Mr. McQuaid,
Yes.
board members, didn't we vote on getting an architect to look at the building before we go any further? Because I think we want to have,
engineer to do
and the engineer, because we want to get an idea how much this is gonna, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be cheaper than buying property and building something, but still we want to get a ballpark figure of what we're gonna be realistically spending to make changes for, the use of the space.
Well, basically, the first floor is very user-friendly already. There might be a little stuff going on the second floor.
Right.
But when I talked to all the department heads and to the gentleman to your left who was doing the project management, very usable, very positive space for us as a municipality. Even some possibility in the future, if decided so by a board, to move a court in there. That's just a possibility. But, I mean, we've been talking about this. We've made that over a year and a half ago. We're supposed to get an architect to look at it. I mean, let's move forward, because we did, I think, allocate some money for an architect to look at it and our engineer to look at it. So I'll call the engineer tomorrow, and if anyone needs to meet with the owners, please try and do so, because I don't want to let an opportunity pass us by.
Okay.
Well, listen, I don't think any of us have a problem with it. I think we just want to do our due diligence to make sure that
Right.
the engineer looks at it, and that, the architect looks at it also. And once we have those two professionals give us their reports, then it's gonna be a matter of crunching some numbers and figuring out where it belongs. Because there's some things that need to be done, and punch list things in the parking lot, and
Right.
there's some discussion we have to have with the parties and.
Yeah, I just think that if we don't do it, it'll fall by the wayside, because
Yeah,
it's not an
I
emergency.
hear you. No, I hear you. We gotta, start working on that. It takes,
Okay.
to get it on the ballot.
I'll be involved with it. Thank you.
All right. That's it.
Okay, I have two things, and it kind of dovetails off this. We put out an RFP for professional services back before the reorg, and we have still not accepted the RFPs that we have, one for the attorney, one for the engineer. For the attorneys, the only submissions that we have are for the current law firm, for our town council, and for CBA and planning would be the firm that currently handles it, which is Dick Overdonnelly and Donovan. So we have that pending, and we also have not formally retained our town engineer as of yet. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the RFP submitted by the town attorneys, Ferrick, Lynch, McCartney, and Nugent, for town attorney. No other submissions were submitted. And it's two separate ones. One is for proposal for town legal services, and the other one is for the tax matters. Tax certiorari, thank you.
And this
So-
is all for the town?
What's that?
All for the same attorney?
Yeah,
Because
well,
then we get a letter from another firm, you said?
we have a letter from another firm, I was gonna bring that up. That is for conflict and special counsel. That's Katina, Mann, Milgram, and Ryder. And they currently handle those for us anyway. So again, they're the only ones that submitted anything for that, so. That was a part of the RFP. They just wanna reestablish that they would like to still be considered for that, which isn't a problem. There's no retainer, there's nothing that we have to do with that really, other than, use them when those occurrences arise. So my first motion would be to accept the RFP, the response to the RFP that was submitted for the proposal for legal services for the town attorney. So I'm gonna make that motion first.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
Which motion you make first, Mike? I was talking about.
All right, so the first motion, because there's like 4 of them all together. So the first motion, I'll lay it all out, and we'll do them all separately. The first motion is for the town board legal services. The second motion is for the tax, certiorari, thank you.
You might want to just say both of those are for the.
Right, right, and then the other one is for ZBA and planning, and the other one is for special or conflict counsel. So, so the first motion is to retain Ferrick, Lynch, McCartney, and Nugent for the town board attorney.
I'll second it. Call the question? Any discussion?
I just find it, I'm not saying it was done wrong, because I'm not an attorney. When you have the RFP drawn up by the firm that's doing it, it seems to me that, and it's through no fault of anyone, it just seems that it would be probably more tailor-made to the firm that is currently working for the town. I think it's human nature that you would write out the RFP and you would tailor it more towards what your firm does, probably gravitating that just by, that's what you consider town legal services. So the issue I have with that, I've also had an issue, and I've made it public. I think that the attorney in a lot of ways seems to me, my opinion, to be geared more towards 2 councilmen rather than the whole board in a lot of ways. And I just found that to be
Folks, quiet, please.
problematic as a councilman, because nothing against Brian, I know he's a good attorney, but in the past, when there was different attorneys, it seemed like even though there was different members of boards who were new or in the minority, the attorney relationships seemed more overall for everybody. And it just seems, and I'm not blaming anyone, it just seems that was never put forth. And I know Brian has said that his firm works with divided boards, but it just hasn't seemed to me to be worked out that way from the beginning. And that's what I have a problem, not with the quality of the service. As an individual, when we're back there, I do find that Brian knows what he's talking about. And the other lawyers that he works with seem to respect him too. But it just seems that this has always been the communication and the way things are done, and the comments back and forth, whether it's to Harley or myself, sort of put on the negative and sort of, in my opinion, attack kind of things were put forth, basically made me know that maybe I don't want to be heard from, or no one wants to hear from me. So I can accept that. I know there's politics that goes on. I know that Mr. Nugent understands that. I made my thing in public clear that when you have an attorney, it's gotten a little better lately, and I'll give credit to Brian for that. But I've always felt that if you watch what goes on the town board, there's also some, in the past, email or phone call stuff where accusations were made from an attorney or opinions were made that I think were more political than attorney against a couple of people on the board. And I felt that was not professional as far as what a town attorney should do with board members who were in the minority or didn't necessarily look to hire that firm in the beginning, but are more than willing to work together. Now, there might be one board member or two, that maybe there's a personal thing, I don't know, but I never had a personal problem with any attorney. So that's the reason I'm voting no. I do think these things.
Let me just clarify, you brought up, the actual RFP itself. We got the RFP on January 6th. So if anybody had any questions or concerning the parameters of it, those should have been addressed at that point. Nobody addressed it, okay? And if we look back at this past year, I know that we've used both Mr. Nugent and Mr. Lynch on our board. And I know that the Ethics Board has used Mr. Ferrick and Mr. McCartney on their board. So with everything that we have going on, with all the legal battles we have going on, I don't see why those parameters in there are that far of a stretch. And there are plenty of firms out there with those requirements and can meet those requirements, but they didn't submit.
That makes me wonder why.
Because we're Monroe.
Why?
That's why.
I mean, and just to bring another
That's
point,
why.
just to bring another point is, we authorize them as a board to write the RFP, just
Well,
to put it out, you know, when we, I believe, because you were the one that came up with put out the RFP for all legal services, for all professional services, which probably actually should have included the IT people. I didn't think of that at the time when we were discussing it, but that's a whole other issue. So, you know, we as a board asked them to put out the RFP. They put out the RFP. There's plenty of firms, as Mr. Cardone said, that would, you know, qualify under this. It's not like, you know, they're the only ones on the face of the earth that would qualify. I mean, I went through the phone book, I went through my contacts. There's dozens that, between Rockland and Orange, that fall into this. A couple that are suing us, unfortunately, but others that would fall into that without, you know. So listen, you know, maybe I'm biased, but they've done a great job for us, and to
Quiet, please.
and to change attorneys at this point, especially where we are and so many things we have going on, I think would be, you know, real foolish. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Mr. Cologne?
Well, I mean, Mr. McQuaid, I understand your perspective, but at the same breath, you also said that your communication with the attorney has improved as well. So, again, we authorize the attorney to write it. You could have brought something up, as it was said before, there's a lot of attorney groups out there. I guess they didn't want to work for Monroe for many reasons. We do have a lot of things going on in this town, and our meetings are notorious to say the least, so.
No, I wasn't saying that. I said, the fact that you'd have any professional write the RFP for the professional services that they are all currently doing and want to do in the future, which is fine. But it just seems to me that it would be done a certain way, that we would have been better off. I'm not saying we're going backwards, but in the future, maybe it would be done where you probably have another firm write something more, and I'm not saying it wasn't done right, but objectively, where then everyone, I think you get better response. Because if I'm a firm looking at it from the outside, and the thing is being written, you know, these things are public meetings, people know who's writing what, and it's written by that firm, I think it kind of quells a little bit or quenches a little bit of the competitiveness of it. I would say the same thing if the engineer wrote an RFP for an engineer. I'm not saying just legal.
Then may I make a
You know what I'm
suggestion for next year then?
Well, whatever next year.
My suggestion is, we can have the planning board attorney write it for the town, and the town write it for the planning board.
That'd be a better idea.
There you go.
All right, so I have a motion out there for the first motion is for legal services.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
All right, the second one is for the, also for Ferrick, Lynch, McCartney, and Nugent, and that is for the tax certiorari matters. Make a motion that we accept the response to the RFP for that.
I'll second it. Discussion? Call the question? Aye.
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 Okay. And just, and not to go off that, but I know that April has been extremely happy with the job that they've done there. They've cleared up a tremendous backlog that existed when they took over doing that.
I talked to April about it.
Yes,
She
very,
was happy.
very happy. Okay, yeah, so I have the, I have
That's less of a political thing, you know what I'm saying? So I think April's very happy with it.
okay. So the next one I have is for Dick Overdolly and Donovan for the ZBA planning. To make a motion, we haven't heard, I mean, we believe that both boards are happy with those attorneys, haven't heard anything to the contrary, or them looking for anybody else at this point, so, and they're the only firm that's responded to that, so.
I'll second that motion.
My thing is, they do a good job for the town for a long time, a very long history, and, you know, they did write the RFP, and I also think that from what I've gathered, the boards are happy with their work, and I think I'm gonna vote yes for it.
Communication got better with them too?
No, I don't think there was ever as big a problem, although a couple of years ago, the planning board did try to, had a vote to get rid of Mike, and he did wind up staying, and the board was there when it happened. So I was around on the board when that was an attempt to oust Mike from the board, so it goes in waves.
So, I believe that they wrote the RFP for the planning board also. For
You're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Well, our
but
firm.
it's not, and
Yeah. So I'm just saying, if they were looking to tailor it so that they would be the only ones.
no, I don't think they were looking
case.
for that work, though.
Call the
Right.
question.
That's-
All right.
that's
Call-
fine.
I don't-
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the last one I have is from Joseph McKay from Katina Van, Milligram and Ryder, and it is for conflict or special counsel. And again, there's really it's not necessary that we retain them, there's no retainer, it's just we've used them in the past, and they just want to know, they want it to be considered. So I'll make a motion that we,
Mr. McGinn, just to be clear, this is not a response to an RFP.
it's
This
not a
is
response to an
letter.
RFP, no, this was just something they put out. And they clearly state that they're not interested in any of the other town.
Okay, we'll second it.
I got one question to the attorney. Is that a conflict because one of the partners is the town judge?
I don't believe so. Obviously, the town justice shouldn't be involved in matters where there would be a direct conflict involving him participating as the attorney on a particular case. But the mere fact that he is a member of the partnership, but ultimately that's not the town's responsibility. That's his responsibility to make sure that with the Judicial Ethics Committee, that there's no conflict with his firm being attorneys for the town. But I can tell you, based on opinions that are out there, they typically would say the firm is not prohibited from representing the town, so long as he is not directly involved in something that would conflict with his role as a town justice.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second it.
And their use also predated, us being.
No, I just want to make sure the public knows we addressed that issue.
All right, call the question?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'd like to make a motion that we retain Mark Etzel and his company as the town engineer. Again, no one else submitted.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Privilege of the floor. Patty, we'll read the list
Parade
off.
is up.
Mr. Supervisor?
Hey there, Lorraine Loading, Village of Monroe. Where you going, Jerry? Okay, we don't need you.
Thank you.
I have a question about the drainage district number 7, how you had to buy those parcels. Okay, I get that you're buying them today, but going forward, are you guys just looking at putting in a mechanism, like, who dropped the ball here? Was it, I know the roads were dedicated to the town, because those folks wanted plowed, so, and Macon got their money back, so who dropped the ball, basically? And you guys are gonna look into making sure that this doesn't happen again, because there could be tons of these floating around that we won't know about until they're torn up on, the tax sale. So I'm guessing you're gonna address that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okie dokie, and then, my friend Mary Bingham's not here today, but we've been texting, and she had a question about Water District 12, and she wanted to know if this $235,000 was gonna be a new cost to the homeowners, or is it already baked into what? No, it's a new cost.
Nope.
Okay, so she was looking for how much
And how long?
and how long the bond was gonna be, that deal.
As long as possible to try and make it amenable for the people in the district, from my understanding, correct, Peter?
Yeah, there's only 40 people here.
Right,
Yeah, by the time, we should
We
recount.
should wait, yeah, we'll wait till the end.
Yeah, we'll wait.
okay, cool, I'll let her know, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Next, Patty?
We're down to Warren.
Too late.
Ward Broward, private citizen. First, I want to comment, there was a public comment earlier in the agenda, we never got to it, and some people left. We were supposed to have these two options, so that people who have to go to work, up front, get a chance to comment. And now, for my comment. I wish to thank 3 members of the board for, after 26 years, you got rid of the accessory apartment law. Amazing. Wheels of government do turn slowly. Also, I want to congratulate the same 3, because I didn't think this was possible. After 26 years of that law, to get a law that was even worse. And how I arrived at that, critiqued it in a very simplistic manner, piece of scrap paper. 3 columns, better than the original, just as bad, or worse than the original. When I got done, there was nothing better than the original. That was shocking. First of all, let me clear up a couple points. A certain councilman made the accusation or impression to the audience that without an accessory apartment, you could not have grandma move in or something like that. That's not quite true. You can have grandma move in, Uncle Fred, Aunt Sally, cousin Phil. You can have non-blood relatives move in. You can even charge them board. But what you can't do is set a 2-family home. That's the problem with these codes. The other thing is, both of these violate this, the new one and the old one, is they run under pretense affordable housing. Well, the only way you can make affordable housing is to have high-density housing. And both of these put accessory apartments in the worst possible zones. The zones that have poor water supply and poor perk. Bad. Both of those are bad. Then critique the intent of the law. Actually, the first law, 1991, had very noble intentions. You take a house that's been occupied by a couple or an individual for X number of years, their children are gone, let them rent a couple rooms out to a couple of people, not a couple of families. Very noble. Trouble, you couldn't enforce it, that was the problem. The new one is more diabolical. Gone is the concept of you living in your house for X number of years, 10 years.
Very simple.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The new one far exceeds it. First of all, you don't have to live in your house 10 minutes, 10 seconds, and you qualify. It's based on the age of the house. Bad concept. No mention of the total number of occupants. Bad concept. Another thing is, it gives the pretense that the planning board and the building inspector are going to critique this. That's only true the first year. After that, the owner signs an affidavit saying everything's fine. Trouble with that is, when we register our cars, we sign an affidavit, our vehicle's in full compliance. But you know what? The government doesn't quite trust us. So they do a Ronald Reagan, do a verification. You have to have an annual inspection by a qualified inspector. That's not in the code. That's a problem. Now I'll skip to in the interest of time, I'll skip to the next. There's a multitude of other things that are wrong. What this does now, this frees up the 446 permits that were in limbo because they could have grandfathered themselves in for the accessory. So now they'll be saying, you gotta put us in right now. The problem with that, there were 2 problems. One was the grandfather clause, they could get the accessory. The other was, they were never engineered for the supersized family. They were only engineered for 4.5 Homo sapiens, not 8 to 10 Homo sapiens. So this may look good for the first couple of years. Eventually what happens is, as those families expand, they exceed the water capacity and the sewer capacity, and then it's Monroe's problem, not our certain villages' problem. And you know what? After 10 years, after they maxed out with this, then they have the ability to come back and ask for an accessory apartment dwelling in compounded felony. Thanks.
Abby, who's next?
Vivian.
regarding my speech of 2 weeks ago dealing with the Monroe Dog Shelter, I'd like to continue and conclude it tonight, because I didn't before, by crossing my T's and dotting my I's. In a world in which too few care and too many look away, this situation has suddenly taken on a greater urgency. Bearing in mind that the newly acquired trust and belief in people on the part of the dogs has been brought about in large part and stemming from the consistent and arduous patience, attention, and care they have experienced at the hands of their caretakers. That said, it would signify a virtual travesty to wrest these poor defenseless dogs from their familiar environment and surroundings, one that has provided them with the only home, sanctuary, and security that they most likely have ever known heretofore. If this haven were to be shut down and the dogs sent to a new and completely unfamiliar rescue or refuge, coupled with a set of strange and alien faces, it could reverse and stall all the strides the dogs have made to date, and what's more, sorely impede the progress they have made thus far as well. Thus, given a different setting or milieu, alongside a change of shelter workers, juxtaposed to their current guardians, herein lies one of the many problems associated with and inherent to this action. In conclusion, therefore, and for all the aforementioned reasons, it becomes incumbent upon you and us to leave this sanctuary open. Moreover, I beseech you vehemently, and in the name of everything that is moral, decent, and humane on this earth, I beg of you, don't let this miasmic ordeal come to fruition. All these pitiful dogs want is a chance. That's all they ask for, and they ask for so little. Let's give it to them. Be it a first, a second, or a third chance. Say no to this proposition. In sum, and lastly, I leave you with this thought. Not traditionally depicted in groups of animals stands the human, not below them, not above them, but beside them on the same level, caring for one another as interconnected parts of the same globe, the same world. For the sweet and innocent dogs worldwide, the Buckies, Brownies, and Lunas, and for the amazing men who watch over them so arduously and who are in peril of losing their jobs. I am, you are, we are their voice. I could wax poetic forever, and I don't think it would reach you. So just bear with me one more minute, and let me just say a couple of phrases. This move seems so wrong on so many levels. I wish you could see or realize the error of your ways. For one thing, puppy season has already come upon us. That is when most of the strays mate that aren't neutered, and they have a lot of puppies. Where are you going to put them if you have this smaller shelter in Woodbury? How economically feasible is it? It doesn't sound like it's sound to me. You've got a wonderful, viable shelter, clean, with all the things that the dogs need, a backyard, runs, indoor runs, everything. And the most wonderful, dedicated, and sincere men running it.
30 seconds, all right, you're over 4.5 minutes.
I'm just running, I think it would be a loss if you lost them.
Speaking to the mic.
This move. And they are just concerned with finding homes and seeking medical treatment to these animals instead of saying, well, I don't care, they don't care about me. Oh, well, I'll just, the dogs, the dogs, the dogs.
5 minutes.
I have never seen this dedication, and I've been working with and alongside shelters for almost 30 years.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kate.
February 27th was, as I have said before, an eventful meeting. The dog shelter was closed and the accessory apartment law was passed as amended, despite Councilman McQuaid's pointing out that the law was impossible to enforce. With this law in place, the projects that have been put on hold because of the moratorium, which include all the Rye Hill Road projects, will be able to have accessory apartments. Since the accessory apartment law cannot be enforced, this town board has basically handed over the Rye Hill corridor to the wealthy developers who will proceed to build and build and build. This town board has made it very obvious that their allegiance is to the wealthy developers, not to the people of Monroe. Oh, and Wednesday, the county will have a meeting to discuss North Monroe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike.
The last speaker.
No, you have Dan.
Mike Goldstein, before I start, you confused me about the...
Microphone.
Sorry about that. Mike Goldstein, a little confused. Is the public allowed to come to the discussion on the new zoning? You said it was not a public meeting, it's a workshop. Are we allowed to come?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It's not a public hearing, it's a.
I was just not confused. You could have been meeting in the back by yourselves.
We wouldn't do that.
A majority of our town believe in the adage, there's a sucker born every minute. That's P.T. Barnum. This might be the reason behind the new town accessory apartment law. They are hoping part of the constituency that put them in office will not realize how bad the new law really is. You only have to buy a home that has a CO for 10 years and the world is your oyster. Perhaps the members of the party that put them in office should read the new law and not be fooled by the representation of board members as to how great the law is. See if you can figure out who benefits most from this law. The accessory apartments are not the answer to affordable housing. There are no secrets in the town of Monroe, as everybody knows. So when this same board tries to increase the density of zoning in RR1, do not be surprised. In fact, a map has already been drawn up to show this on both sides of Route 17. Mr. Colon, would you share with us who prepared this map you have already presented to the Orange County Executive and any comments he may have made on this RR10 zoning? I prefer to believe that Abraham Lincoln was right when he said, you can fool some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time. Wake up, Monroe.
Thank you.
Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, Dan Burke, private citizen and elder statesman. I saw Logan Saturday night, the 9:30 show. The 9:15 of Beauty and the Beast was sold out, which is nice about that. That's revenue coming in, and I'm going to be pleased to see what we did last year and what we're doing this year. I follow that stuff closely. If I can get the numbers, I'd just love to enjoy it. I time looking at it at $2.75 million. Firehouse in Harriman around in the $5 million range. Firehouse in Warwick, $5 million range. This is a bargain. Beautiful building, large lot. It's perfect for a town hall. the IMA to move the dog services to Woodbury. Now, you had a vote on it. I've never seen the IMA. I've never read it. I don't know what's in it. I don't know if it's available. But you had a vote on it, but you voted on some form of it as it was originally introduced by one of the councilmen. It's given to the attorney. The attorney's going to update it. He's going to consult with Woodbury. There's going to be other changes in the document. You can't pass a resolution that says that we're all signing a blank check. This IMA has to come back before the town board. It should be posted on the town website so everybody can read it, and then you can have your meeting and the discussion and hear a little bit from the public on this, and then vote it again. The process of voting on something that changes after it's voted on, it sounds illegal to me, and there will be litigation in this area. So I think you should be very careful, work with your attorney, and make sure that your process is correct. Water District 14, I got a couple of honorable mentions, but the credit goes to the town of Monroe, town government. They saw a failing water district that the owner was abandoning, and they stepped in. And this included Sandy Leonard, included Harley Doles, myself, Mr. Cologne, Jerry McQuaid, and Peter Martin took a lead on this, and so did our attorney, Langdon, yeah. So it was something done by town government that saw what it should be doing for its citizens and stepped up and did it, and the credit should be spread over the whole town. Solar. This was the highlight of the evening, that they say they're going to start putting that up in August or September. That's wonderful. And we had an advantage. We had an advantage. Clarkstown already had a solar farm on a capped landfill. We got to see that beforehand. We got to talk to those officials. We find out what their experiences were, and we learned a lot from them. We did our due diligence. We did this. We did excellent work on this. It's a shame that it takes so long. Once it's up and running, I'm going to make some inquiries and find out why it takes so long. What does Orange and Rockland get to veto this and hold this and stop this? And what other agencies are involved that slow something like this down? Because solar is what we need, and there shouldn't be barriers put in the way. And it should generate something like $3,000 a month. And for somebody to come up, you're always happy to see citizens who want to participate and have questions about town government. But I think the presentation earlier tonight was insincere. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Anyone else? That's it. A comment?
Nope, I'll make some for you guys. Want to make it go ahead, I'll be
Good.
waiting. All right, I'll go. I guess I'll start now. Ward brought up some stuff that I agree with him on. I don't think that the law is enforceable. It's big enough where you can still drive a moving truck through. And you could put multiple families on that truck and drive them all in, and they can have a party. The fact is, the 10-year thing, as Ward mentioned, I think other people mentioned, it's not 10 years residence, it's 10 years of existence. There's huge housing stock in this community that's been around longer than 10 years. So that's just a free-for-all. The other thing is, when you have Mr. Maldonado or whoever the building inspector is inspect it, it's a one-shot deal. Even on new stuff, he's gonna look at New York State codes and such, he's gonna walk away. All of that has to happen because the structure's not limited as of yet. Knock a wall down, put a door in, do this and that. No one's coming in to count doing a bedroom count at night and a curfew count. If you really think laws are put into effect, if we were ruled by angels, as I think Jefferson said, then we wouldn't need laws, we wouldn't need law enforcement. But if you think someone's gonna go in there and absolutely guarantee on the honor system that someone's gonna sign a sheet of paper every year, and you can count on that, then I got some real estate in the swamplands of Florida I got for sale, but I actually don't. But that would be interesting, because I see this as a bad thing. We should have repealed the law. We should have waited years and years to see what actually happens in the town development, and then a future board could have maybe addressed it later. It's not, this was pressure politically on the county to say that it was affordable housing. It was never affordable housing. We have $1 million in the bank to put affordable housing in. We could have bought some lots and put some houses up. That's affordable housing. This is not affordable housing, it's deceptive. I talk to people in the county. They don't want to touch certain issues because they're afraid of their political career. They don't want to touch the North Monroe issue because they're afraid of their political career. I know county people from up in the hills of Orange County that will not touch or vote on something in order to help Monroe's future and our school district's future. They're worried about the next election because they're politicians and that's what they worry about. But the problem is, our populace here walking around with their head in the clouds because they've been sold a bill of goods. This is not good for the future, this law. I also said I support, in theory, some kind of North Monroe, some kind of separating of ways of us and the village of KJ. Let them go make their destiny. We should have ours. With the population growth that this development's going to bring, we will not be in charge of the destiny on this side of the Quickway in the school system like we were in the past. My family all went to school here, and so did I and my kids. It's going to change rapidly. I've always made it clear to everyone, I voted for annexation to protect the town and to be fair to the other community, give them a chance to grow also. Now that makes me unpopular, I get it. But it's also in the long run to protect everyone here. Because if you don't give a little room to grow in a high density area that's historically high density, guess where the high density is going? It's common sense. You've been sold a bill of goods on the internet and in the papers, and half the people who are telling you this are up at the county executive's office petitioning to make these things 1,500 square feet instead of 750. That's a fact. There's no secrets in Orange County or in Monroe. You've been sold a bill of goods. People want to make office, they want to be big shots, they want to do whatever they want to sell their real estate too. And watch the money flow, because I don't own any real estate except a little house in the village. You're going to see the games begin. And I'm sorry that I wasn't able to do it with one vote more. But I tried my best, and that's all I can do. As far as the last thing I'll say is, Dan Burke, I appreciate what he said about the movies. Keep pushing for good entertainment for the public, and with Mr. Goldstein, I haven't seen any such maps, so I don't know what you're talking about. I'm probably one of the least privy guys to what's going on the board, which is why I had complaints from other board members right down to the attorney. I also met Mike Emo in Stop and Shop this weekend, and he told me there was a meeting between county legislators and two prominent members of United Monroe talking about our future. Or where's all the transparency in government they promised? Why aren't either, I don't know if these two guys know about it, what happened, or what was decided, but the people who are doing that, they should be at the meeting or writing in the paper what they're pushing for. They love to criticize, but I don't see any long-term plans. You know my long-term plan. It'll save the zoning of this town, and it'll save the school district. But if you don't want that, you get what you bargained for. Thank you.
I'm just gonna make the one comment. Someone had said that I had presented a map to county officials, and that is not true at all. I had no map, made no presentation to any county official, county executive. I don't know why that's come up. It's completely false. I deny it 100%. I'll leave it at that. Gentlemen?
No. Just two quick comments. The speaker was speaking about the dogs and them having a home, a kennel, and I think most people would agree that dogs are better off with families, adopted families, and not living in kennels for several years. It's one of the reasons why we went with Woodbury, is they said it has such a excellent high rate of adoptions with their dogs. And in fact, they never had one for more than 6 months, where we've had them for 3 years. That's not a good, that's a horrible environment to keep an animal penned up in a cage for that long. So I'm very confident with using with Woodbury, that they'll adopt out those dogs and they'll have a much, much better life. Someone else made a statement about the Rye Hill Road, and that's gonna, you know, that accessory apartments are gonna be allowed in the new housing there. The law specifically prohibits that, and that's just a false statement, and again, you know, obviously, the saying is you're entitled to your facts, but, you know, or you're entitled to your opinion, but the facts speak for themselves, the law speaks for itself, and that law is 10 times stronger than what was on the books, and I'm sure it will be enforceable. I lived there, I wouldn't let it go any other way.
Anyone else? Nope. Motion to adjourn?
Secondly, the meeting?
Yeah.
We just, there was supposed to be, I don't know if they're here, a representative of the union for a grievance.
Not here.
That was tabled till next time.
Okay.
I found out late in the day, I thought you all knew that.
I
It was something that.
They emailed this afternoon, said they would be here tonight, that was the
Yeah,
last
I think that was at like 3:30, and then shortly thereafter it was canceled.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I heard about it.
Anyone else with business before this board? No?
Nope. Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Before midnight?
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.